Our schools are indeed training up our children, your children, in the way that they should go. But many of you would be shocked if you knew the direction that they were being trained to go. Many times parents find it hard to believe what is actually taking place in our public schools today, what is being taught to their children in their town. Now, I would like to make it clear that all public schools are not the same. And some are doing a remarkably good job, considering what's happening in the educational world today. And I thank God for the many Christian teachers that are swimming against the stream and are trying to inculcate some godly values in the lives of our children. However, overall, there has been a tremendous transformation in the philosophy and ideology that is being inculcated in the minds of our young people in our public schools today. And today I would like for you to meet some parents who, like some of you, found it hard to believe what I have told you today until they began to check into what their own children were learning. What happened in their case will be of interest to every parent or grandparent watching this program.
Arlington, Virginia lies in the shadow of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. It is a fast-growing suburb. It is also the home of Newt and Carol Hanston. Their children attend public schools. Brent, 17, and Carla, 16, attend this school, Yorktown Senior High. In May of last year, the Hanstons learned that many public schools, like Yorktown, were using values clarification or critical thinking programs. They also learned that there was tremendous controversy surrounding these programs in the public schools. These reports caused the Hanstons to review their own children's classwork. And what did they find?
There was a strategy involved here that was designed to manipulate the kids' minds, to cause them to think differently than they previously had, to change their traditional values, to accept anything kind of an ethic. And then we found a book called Values Clarification, Sidney Simon and others, and in it had all the strategies that these teachers were using. So we began to recognize that there was a basic pattern or a plan that was being used by educators to undermine the traditional family system and the Christian virtues and morals.
The Hanstons found that all of their children were subjected to values classes. Many of these classes caused undue stress on their children.
In my history class, a guy came in to do something on aggression. We were studying World War II. And he gave us questionnaires about our personal values, and we had to fill them out. And also we did a story on Alligator River. And Greg and Abigail are lovers, and they're separated by a river with alligators in it. And Abigail wants to get over to see Greg, and so she goes over to see Sinbad. And he says, sure, I'll let you go over the river, but you have to sleep with me first. And she didn't want to do this, and so she goes over to Ivan and asks him to help her. And he says, no way, I don't want to get involved. And so she goes back to Sinbad and accepts his terms, and they go over the river. And Greg is really happy to see her, but when he finds out what she's done, he says, get lost. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And so she goes over to Slug and cries on his shoulder, you know. And he gets really mad at what Greg has done, and so he goes over and beats him up. And Abigail's really happy about this. And so what we had to do is we had to get in groups and decide who was the best to who was the worst. And we had to rate them. I didn't really discuss it with my classmates, but as I was thinking about it, every person did something wrong, but you couldn't really rate them and say this person did something worse, because, you know, if they went to God and asked forgiveness, it would still be the same. You know, each said it doesn't really matter what kind of sin you've done. And they were asking us to rate them, and I didn't think that was right. So I went to the teacher and asked her, you know, what is the point of this? Why do I have to do this? I don't think this is right. And she said, well, you must be part of the moral majority or something. She said, if you can't take this, you must not be able to get along in life. And it made me embarrassed.
Many educational experts like Samuel Blumenfeld believe Carla's experience is not unique. They believe values programs like Alligator River are designed to confront traditional values and beliefs.
The Hanstons is simply a symptom of what's happening all over the country to other parents, because the educators these days are working very intensively to destroy the traditional values of American children, to change our society to a socialist society that can fit into a world government, a world socialist government. A very good book has been written on globalism. in showing exactly how this thing operates. And the NEA has been, of course, in the forefront of pushing globalism and this entire program, this entire socialist program. For example, the NEA is for the nuclear freeze. It's for helping the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, not helping the freedom fighters, but in helping the Marxist revolutionaries. They are for abortion. They are for the entire liberal social program of the radical left in this country. And they worked very hard to get senators and congressmen and legislatures all over the country to go along with them.
Samuel Blumenfeld is not alone. From his Washington office, Albert Shanker presides over the American Federation of Teachers.
Most people do not want the teachers or schools to indoctrinate their children in a particular point of view, whether it be nuclear freeze or that the Soviet Union is to be more sympathized with than the United States, or to select textbooks for children which are more sympathetic to Castro than to the United States, or to take the view that it's all right for children in our society to grow up without learning English, or that bilingual education is not a transitional thing for a child who comes with another language, but is to be maintained throughout life. These are a series of issues where, if the general public thinks that the teachers are there to indoctrinate rather than to educate, or to give their children values, but values that are against the values of their own family or the common values of their own country, but are the values of the leaders of the NEA, I think the public schools will be in trouble. And I think it's very important that teachers grab hold of this and assert that they're not going to engage in a war against the people of this country.
I find it very hard to understand why so many Christian parents still put their children in the public schools. I would say that it's probably due to ignorance. They simply don't know what is taught or being taught in the public schools today. They're not aware of how deeply entrenched values clarification is, death education, sex education, globalism, paganism. You know, we do have paganism being taught in the schools today. You have children being given courses in transcendental meditation, out-of-body experiences, yoga. All of this is being done in today's public schools. So the public schools are not religious neutral. They are paganistic in their, or atheistic, one or the other. But they certainly are not neutral. And so it's a very anti-Christian atmosphere for a child to be in, and a very dangerous atmosphere.
Carol and I are trying to teach our kids what's right and wrong personally. And we teach them according to the Bible, and then they go to school, and to find that the school is trying to undermine the very things that we are teaching our kids, we think that's wrong. We're taxpayers. We feel the school should be serving us, not trying to change the way we think.
What you have seen and heard today should concern every person watching this program. The future of this country rests in the minds and hearts of our nation's young, your children and grandchildren. What they are being taught is no longer merely how to read, write, and understand mathematics.